In the game of Pokemon, there is a competitive scene that is consistently growing. This has caused a noticeable shift in the design of some Pokemon. More often than not, older Pokemon are pushed away into small niches, while newer Pokemon take much more of the spotlight. This is a phenomenon found in many games, especially PvP games, called power creep. There are many players who do not like the constant power creep, as they see it as an almost removal of old content and a betrayal. However, power creep is almost an inevitable feature in designing games, but can be managed when the older properties are treated correctly and with a proper inflow of new properties. So in this video, we will see what power creep is, why it happens, the player's thoughts on the matter, and important examples of what power creep causes, and some examples of how it can be counteracted. Power creep is a phenomenon within competitive games where there is a consistent update of the game and new releases into the game. In the conservative metric of power creep by Daniel Magruder, this phenomenon is defined as the strengthening of the game and its pieces over time, possibly to the point where new pieces invalidate older ones. This is evident in many games, both video and trading card games, and this can be either direct upgrades, such as numbers being larger, or more indirect changes, such as better optimization. A game needs to have balance between new content and old content. This is because if new content has no reason to be purchased, it will not serve its primary purpose, but if only new content is good, it overshadows all older content, which will cause many players to stop enjoying the game. A constant flow of new, increasingly stronger content will make sure that few, if any, pieces of content are strong and relevant for a long time. To quote David Manstrom's Power Creep in Video Games, an analysis of the competitive scene in Pokemon games, the older content is no longer good enough to be competitive and thus falls out of favor with the competitive players who are willing to do everything to unlock more in-game power. This causes a loss of attraction to the player base and can lose developers' players and hurts the legacy of the game. However, there is a reason why developers do include the power creep. Developers will use it as a selling point for newer games and updates. As Pokemon are made stronger, more people will be drawn to the game for its unique, strong Pokemon. This can be seen within the DLC, standing for downloadable content. This is content that can be purchased in addition to the main game. Pokemon released in DLC are made to be extremely powerful, such as the Urshifu and Calyrex highlighted later on. These Pokemon are all dominant in metagames and are only obtainable with the purchase of DLC. This provides a grand incentive for competitive players to buy the DLC or else play with a disadvantage. This can also be seen in other games such as Smash Bros. Or Total War Warhammer. It's also similar to what happens in trading card games, with new sets being much stronger. Many players understand that it is a part of the game, but do not enjoy it. In Jonas Fau and Maggie L. Nasser's on video game balancing, joining player and data-driven analytics, quote, players strongly agree that each of the 9 professions should be viable in in-game PvE. This quote comes from a survey of Guild War II players. While not the same game, the ideas given in the survey can show the average thoughts of a video game's player base. Players will drop a game or bore of it if they feel like a set of characters is always stronger than the rest of the cast. A larger roster of viable characters is one way to give players a positive impression of your game. This matters because if players do not actively take part in your game, or the new content you release, you will not be able to continue making games and you will lose money. Tauros was originally one of the greatest Pokemon. Generation 1, nearly every team had a Tauros and many Pokemon built it. With a good abuser, many of Gen 1 with Hyper Beam upon KO, not included them. The special stats which allowed Tauros to fire off special attacks with the crit formula. Based on speed, so the speedy Tauros was very these mechanics all phased out to with low special attack, and then in Gen 4 had to be special attack. Tauros only landing critical hits as much as any other Pokemon. These changes caused Tauros to slowly fall down the tiers because it never received any meaningful attack. Swampert and Snorlax have been outclassed as their defensive stats are not high enough, especially within the modern, hazard-filled metagame, as they lack reliable recovery. While they can use Rest, the move is easily exploitable, and their only other option of Protect and Leftovers is simply not enough. They're outclassed by Pokemon with extremely high defensive stats with better typings and abilities, such as Tinglu or Dondozo, or Pokemon that have moves such as Recovery or the ability Regenerator, who can both more easily recover HP, such as Alomomola or Garganacl. The many defensive Pokemon of nowadays can make progress by either dealing solid damage, providing chip damage, spreading status, and crippling opponents.
How can such a worthless piece of trash be more special than me?
Tapu Bulu, when it was first introduced in Generation 7, was extremely powerful due to its high attack stat and unique access to the ability Grassy Surge, which summoned grassy terrain. This boosts the power of Grass-type moves, heals 1/16 of each grounded Pokemon's max HP every turn. However, in Generation 8, the starter Pokemon Rillaboom was given this same ability. Rillaboom also has a high attack stat. It also has many things that Tapu Bulu does not, like the powerful move Grassy Glide, which has priority, meaning it will go first regardless of speed on grassy terrain. To compound this issue, the Fairy typing of Tapu Bulu served primarily as a hindrance, as it increased its weakness without any offensive advantage due to Tapu Bulu having no physical Fairy type move. These Pokemon were incredibly strong for a time, with Darkrai being in Ubers and Sundress being the most used Pokemon within its initial VGC years. Over time, these Pokemon lost their edge through a combination of intentional nerfs and a general increase of stats over time. The first I will talk about is Darkrai. Darkrai was a powerful Pokemon due to its high special attack and speed stats, as well as its powerful signature move Dark Void. This move was 80% accurate and caused the sleep status, a very powerful condition due to it shutting down your opponent. However, in Generation 7, the move's accuracy was dropped to 50%. This is due to another Pokemon, Smeargle, which used the move in VGC, a rule set where Darkrai is not allowed. Due to the unique ability of Dark Void to hit both opposing Pokemon, this allows Smeargle to incapacitate both of your opponent's Pokemon on the field, while your second Pokemon could attack or use a setup move to boost their stats. So, this nerf to Darkrai's move lost its place in the Ubers metagame and now resides within the OU tier. To add insult to injury, Smeargle can now not even learn Dark Void. It was given that nerf itself. Thundurus can be considered the VGC counterpart of Darkrai's single battle nerf. Thundurus was very useful due to its prankster ability and myriad of supportive moves, such as Thunder Wave, Swagger, and Taunt. This allowed Thundurus to play a vital role on the teams it resided in. As a result of its overwhelming success, it received numerous nerfs to its traits to make it worse than before. This included a drop in accuracy for Swagger from 90% to 85%, and Thunder Wave 100% to 90%. Nerf to the Confusion and Paralysis status, these moves caused respectively. Drop in the self-damage rate from 50% to 33% for Confusion, and for Paralysis, the speed drop it caused changed from 75% to 50%, as well as electric types gaining an immunity to the condition. And a nerf to the Prankster ability as well, which made the status moves boosted in priority by it unable to affect dark types. And while Thundurus still does see some usage, it is at nowhere near the same level as it was in its glory days. The ability Intimidate, while simplistic, is extremely powerful since the competitive scene, especially so with VGC. However, many Pokemon with this ability have lost their niche due to Incineroar. Incineroar has many positive traits that place it above the other Pokemon with the Intimidate ability. These positives include its incredible stat line, move pool containing fast moves such as Knock Off, Fake Out, Parting Shot, helping has Will-O-Wisp, U-Turn, and Taunt, and its great defensive typing. The Pokemon released in the DLCs are made to be stronger as an influence to purchase the extra DLC. These Pokemon, specifically Urshifu and Calyrex, are especially notable as they are very relevant in some of the most powerful Pokemon ever made. Urshifu has a signature move which always lands a signature ability allowing it to break through Protect. Calyrex has two abilities, one of which stops berries from being eaten, and one raising its higher attacking stat. Both forms have a signature move of their typing, which is an 120 base power move of whichever attack set is higher, which hits both opponents. While mostly thought of offensively, it can also be defensively. These Pokemon, whose stats, abilities, and move pools are cultivated to be extremely powerful for defensive play, meaning that the offensive power creep is counteracted, but many previous strong defensive Pokemon, such as the ones talked about beforehand, are left in the dust. These Pokemon have all been banned, but do not hold any notable positions within the design of the game, such as Starter or Legendary. Palafin is an especially strange example due to it was designed to be strong with a massive drawback. Its drawback, however, does not hold it back enough very well. Archelodon was an evolution given to an already decent Pokemon. This means it has high stats and was given a very strong signature move in Electroshock. This allows it to be incredibly strong and is difficult to KO in return due to its stamina ability, which boosts defense upon being attacked. The Excalibur is strong at first, but was strengthened when given access to the move Scale Shot, which is a Dragon-type attacking move which raises the user's speed by 1. These Pokemon are examples of how newer Pokemon are generally better designed and more specifically made for the competitive. Zapdos' type combination, static ability, solid stats, and diverse move pool have allowed it to continue thriving despite the constant pressure of new Pokemon. This has only wavered once during the 5th generation. This is because of two main factors, one of which being the metagame. The pace was increased tremendously offensively due to the weather conditions having more useful options. This, along with Thunderous Therian, a more offensive Pokemon that shares the same typing, dropped Zapdos from its rank within the standard metagame. It returned in the next generation due to a slowing of the metagame and has remained there since. The game also demands for offensive Pokemon to be much more aggressive than Thundurus T can do. This shows how Pokemon, when given the right tools, can continue to thrive and not fall to power. Clefable is an example of a Pokemon that was bad, but through the buffs it was given later, it gained relevance. One of the most important tools given to it is Magic Guard. This allows it to completely ignore all passive damage, which is damage not directly from an attack. This allows its seemingly poor stat spread to provide it much more bulk than what we saw otherwise. It's also later given the Fairy typing, which is what truly put it on the radar. The Fairy typing is considered by many to be one of the best typings of the game due to its few, easy to deal with weaknesses and its offensive capabilities. These tools, along with its large move pool, have allowed it to gain and keep relevance within the competitive game. Pachirisu has, for almost its entire career, been unused. However, it has been made famous for one moment, its World Championship victory in 2014. It was made as a strategic pick into the metagame. The person who ran this team, Sajin Park, chose Pachirisu specifically to support his Mega Gyarados, another uncommon pick. It was chosen due to the limited amount of Pokemon, making it the best option with Follow Me, a move that causes all opposing Pokemon to target the user of the move. This allowed it to protect Gyarados from Zapdos, its biggest threat, as it could absorb the electric attacks that would threaten Zapdos and heal with it instead. This victory shows that a Pokemon's viability can come from the surrounding metagame and having the right tools at the right time. Volcarona is an example of a Pokemon that keeps relevance due to its strength and can abuse new parts of the game to grow it more powerful. It's powerful due to its move pool containing a very powerful setup move, Quiver Dance, and its other many different types of attacking moves. Volcarona is being called out specifically because it was made even more powerful by the generational gimmick of Terastallizing. This allows a Pokemon to change its typing, allowing for many Pokemon to flip matchups on their heads. This allows to Volcarona, who often fails due to its weakness of its typing of Bug Fire, to break through its common checks and other problems. It is able to avoid taking its full Stealth Rock damage, which is typically 50% of its max HP, and so it can stay in the battle much longer. It can also add any type of move to its move pool with the attack Terra Blast, which changes typing based on what the user terrestrializes into. Slowbro, in both forms of Slowking, grew to a commonly seen defensive pivot in Generation 8. This is due to one change to the move Teleport. Teleport was changed from a move that served no purpose within competitive battles to one of the most important types of moves, pivot moves, which allow the user to switch out. It's also given negative priority, which allowed it to tank strong special attacks, switching to another, frailer, but stronger Pokemon. It was also excelled in this role due to its Regenerator ability, which heals 33% of a Pokemon's max HP upon switching in, which added to its bulk. Along with this, Future Sight allowed the creation of a difficult position for the opponent. Slowking could use the move Future Sight, a strong psychic move which hits 2 turns after the turn it is used. This would allow Slowking to safely bring in a powerful physical attacker, such as Urshifu with Teleport, and threaten 2 powerful attacks on both sides of the defense, creating an almost impossible to live situation. This allowed Slowbro and Slowking to rise to OU and become metagame staples. In Gen 9, Slowbro and Slowking lost the ability to teleport, which nerfed their viability. However, Slowking, in both his forms, was given a new signature move, Chilly Reception. This move is a switch move that summons snow. While not having negative priority, Slowking is slow enough that it often moves last anyhow. The Snow Summon was also useful as it supported ice types such as Baxcalibur through the defense boost Snow gives to them. This allowed Slowking in its Galarian form to keep their niche, and at the present moment, Galarian Slowking resides in OU, and base Slowking is in UU. This shows that if a Pokemon is given tools that play to its strengths, it can stay relevant with these tools. I believe that power creep is an unfortunate consequence of the competitive game creation process. New content will almost always be better due to a larger context, so the developers have more incentive to make them better. However, it's not as manageable, as older content can be changed to make it better so that it doesn't fall behind and out of favor, which should alienate your audience. There are pros and cons to this strategy. The pros are that it can attract new players and that it adds a reason for players to purchase new content. The cons are that it can make old content redundant and unusable and cause a feeling of betrayal for longtime fans. There are 2 main changes I will suggest. A combination of both will likely be the best solution. The first suggestion would be to have a careful analysis of all new Pokemon, which would make sure newer Pokemon are not as overtuned as many have been. The other suggestion would be to make sure continually that older Pokemon get buffed. While some do get buffed, many are left to rot in the lower tiers. Through these 2 suggestions and changes, the game could become much more varied and, by extension, many more players would enjoy it. All in all, the phenomenon known as power creep is an inevitable part of any game that continues to release new content. It can be noted that you can attract players with stronger content, but this must be balanced out, not overpower all or most of the original content, as this will drive your original players away. There is a precise and delicate balance to this scenario. We saw through the examples both Pokemon that were left behind, some that were able to keep thriving, and some that have kept others away from success, either because of traits they have always had, or because the developers found the right tools to bring these Pokemon into the limelight.